Hey y'all, it's Kind. I want to talk about this lady I met at a psychic fair a couple of weeks ago, so there were three vendors lined up, and I knew the vendors on the outside. The middle person I did not know, and usually I'll unintentionally avoid somebody, but usually there's a reason for that. And so I was talking to my friend on the left, and I was telling her that a psychic told me that I was supposed to work with a retired artist. So then she's like, oh, you gotta talk to the person in the middle. They're a retired artist. Maybe she can give you work or whatever. So then I ended up talking to the middle person who paints wood sculptures or whatever. And everything was fine at first. I was agreeing with what she was saying. I believe in reincarnation and mermaids exist on another planet, things like that. But then she got a little too much, where she was saying that kids are being injected, and their blood is being injected out of them so that the blood can go into an actor, and that's how the actors stay useful, by injecting kids' blood into it. Which is what? It's called Botox. Have you heard of that? And then she started going on about how Elon Musk is a robot and Trump's a doppelganger, and how we have to have horse dewormer to prevent ourselves from getting sick. It was wild, absolutely wild. And then my friend that was on the right side, she realized what was going on, and then she kind of jumped in because the lady was talking about alkaline water, and she's like, oh, my mom has alkaline water. She loves alkaline water, and because she jumped in to say that, I was able to kind of get out of the conversation and then talk to my other friend that was on the right of me. And so that's what happened. I was not expecting that. And it was so funny because I was with my friend Rachel, and we kind of kept going. We kind of kept feeding this lady's ego, where we would be curious enough to ask what she thinks of this, and then it would just go on. And sometimes, because I'm a talkative person, I'm a yapper once you get me started, so even though I was getting kind of weirded out by the conversation, I was still kind of oh, what do you think about this? Or oh, yeah, I agree with this. So it's I was kind of hurting myself because I wanted to stop talking to this lady, but I kept thinking of things to tell her. So last month I went to an event, and I was out with my friend we're going to call Billy Bob. And so Billy Bob and I, this event had these vendors, and then there's a walkway and everyone's talking. It's a social event. And so Billy Bob was in front of me, and I'm starting to walk towards him, and this random guy comes out of nowhere. And then he grabs my hand, but he kind of puts his hand up like this. So I was okay, I guess I'm shaking your hand. And I don't like shaking people's hands. I'm a germaphobe. I don't want to touch your hand. But I haven't gotten to that part where I'm I don't want to touch your hand. I don't know how to say that without being rude. It's I could do a fist bump or a hug, but I don't like touching people's hands. Who knows where those nasty hands have been? You know what I'm saying? And so this guy just comes up to me, and he grabs my hand, so to speak. And then he's oh, are you single? And I'm yeah. And then he's oh, I'm single too. And he's going on about stuff, and I'm I don't know what to do in this situation. I'm just minding my business, and this guy just comes up to me. And then Billy Bob's all the way over there by the bar at this point. And I'm I don't know what to do. And then he said something. I don't remember what it was, but it made me able to kind of run away from him. And then to my other friends that were on a couch nearby. And then later on, the guy was dancing on his own, which is great. And then I know a majority of the people at this event, so I kept telling people about this encounter. This guy just comes up to me and starts shaking my hand and telling me all these things, and they're oh, I think I know who you're talking about. So this guy was because he was very forceful. He wasn't you know, what are you doing or whatever. He was just very kind of forceful and grabbing things or whatever. And so this one girl, one of my friends, she's oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. And then he happened to be in the parking lot, and I was oh, is it that one? Is that the one? The same person? And she's don't make it obvious, don't point. And she's yeah, that's him. So this guy's already notorious for just throwing himself into conversation and grabbing people's hands and stuff. And then when I was leaving, I was driving Billy Bob home, and so when we were about to leave, I was oh, I'm gonna go say bye to this person. And I walked away, and that was when the guy came after Billy Bob to go talk to him. And then later on, Billy Bob was I'm so mad at you for leaving. because then he had to talk to me. But it's funny because I told Billy Bob when it first happened. He's like, oh yeah, he tried to talk to me and I just ignored him and walked away. But the second time, at the end of the day, he wasn't able to get away. So a year or so ago, I had went to a career, not a career fair, it was like a trade fair. It was a women-owned business, like trade fair, where everyone was a woman, they had their own small businesses. And so I went there to network. And there was this one lady who worked for a real estate company, and I was talking to her for a while, and we were talking about how, like, I'm a social media manager. And she's like, oh, I'm definitely going to call you. So then a week goes by or whatever, and then she calls me. She's like, oh, so I really want to make a website. Can you make a website where anyone can add their own, like, real estate listings? And I was kind of confused because I didn't tell her I could make websites. I only said that I was a social media manager. And the thing is a lot of people, they kind of clump, like social media, web design, graphic design, they kind of clump them all together. And I can make websites, but it's not like my expertise. I've really only made websites for a friend of mine who does psychic fairs, and then myself for the most part. So I was like, yeah, I looked it up. She wanted me to call her back, be like, oh, can't you make this kind of website? So I looked it up. You can make this kind of website. And so so I said I would do it. And she told me, she asked me, like, how long does it take to make a website? And I had made a website for my friend that only took like 4 or 5 hours. So I told her, the last one I did was 4 or 5 hours, but I really didn't know. And so she specifically told me that money didn't matter. So because of that, I never thought to, like, ask her later on how long it was taking. So flash forward a month later, you know, we've been on and off just telling her how it's going. She's testing it out. And then she goes, you know, how much is it? And I said, it's going to be $1,000. And she starts freaking out. What do you mean $1,000? You said, and I told her it took me 25 hours to make, because this is like a complicated thing. I didn't know what I was really getting into. And so, but because she said money didn't matter, I never brought it up to her. And if she hadn't said that, I would have been like, you know, here's where we are, etc., etc., etc. And so she's freaking out. I was like, you know, I apologized because I didn't make that part clear about how long it was taking. So I apologized to her because I wasn't clear about how long it was taking me, but that's only because she said that money didn't matter, so it didn't occur to me that money would matter. And then, so we ended up, she was able to pay me $500, and, you know, she was like, oh, well, you did a great job, I'll ask you for another website or whatever, which I never heard back from again, but that's fine, because, like, after this whole mess, I don't want to work with her again. And it's like, and it's just so funny, because if she hadn't told me that money didn't matter, I would have been like, this is how long it's taking right now, this is where we are. But because she said money didn't matter, it just didn't occur to me to keep her updated with how long it was taking to make the website, which was like 25 hours in total. And it's funny because I talked to a friend of mine about this, and she's like, she was getting mad. My friend was saying, this lady's getting mad at you for asking for $1,000, when apparently web design could go up to $3,000. It was funny because a few months later, I went to an event, and I made friends with this new person I never met before, and I was telling her about it. And she's like, oh yeah, you gotta, like, she told me that real estate people tend to not actually have money. Like, some of them are successful, but most of the time they don't have money, and they'll actually have 2 cars. One will be really nice, and one of them will be beat up, and the one that's beat up is the one they drive everywhere else. But the nice one they take to, like, clients, so this way it, like, looks nicer than they actually are. And then after this whole fiasco, I don't think I want to work with a real estate agent anymore. Because I was thinking, oh, they're in real estate, they're going to have money, so it's not going to be a problem, which is why I thought it was fine when she said money wasn't a problem, but obviously it was a problem. And you might ask, why would you do it if you've only made, like, a website for yourself and your friend? Well, the thing is, this might be kind of silly. There was, I had seen an astrology thing where it was like, oh, you're going to do something that you've never done before, and don't worry about it. You won't think you can do, but you can do it. So because of that astrology zodiac thing, I was like, oh, I'm going to take this project on. they say I can do it, then I can do it. I mean, I did technically do it. It's just there were a few miscommunications on both of our parts. And I have a funny little side story. So, in order to build this website where people can add their own like listings for their houses and stuff, I had to do like a tutorial. I was using a Wix tutorial because that's the web design platform I really like. I kind of cheat on Wix with Hostinger now, but that's a different story. So the guy that I watched the YouTube tutorial on how to do it, he was like, if you ever have a problem, email me on my website and I'll get back to you. So I had a big issue with the website, couldn't figure out how to do this, whatever it was. And I messaged that guy, and he never got back to me. So I wound up going on Reddit, and Reddit was able to solve the problem. And then a month later, a month after I dealt with this person, she already gave me the money, the website's all hers now, blah, blah, blah. This guy messages me a month later, everything's done. And he's like, oh, sorry for the late reply, I was busy, which is like, that's fine. Obviously, things happen. He's like, can we get on a video call and I can help you with your problem? And it's like this is a month later, like, I'm done with it already. I just didn't get back to him, because it's like, really? It's like, I get that things happen, but it's like, that's done, that's long gone and done now. Too late. Shirt of the day, colorful explosion.